Hey everyone, we are here. We are live. Good afternoon. I'm Audra Pittman. I am the Vice President for SCAD Atlanta, and I am so pleased to be your host for this final hour of today's program. I am joined by four incredible women executives working in the film business for a conversation and Q&A, so get your questions ready to put in the chat. I'd like to welcome our panel. First, welcome back to our virtual stage, the incredible DeDe Brown, who is a Senior Vice President of National Publicity at Paramount Pictures. Joining DeDe are Shayla Cowan, Chief of Staff at Will Packer Productions and Will Packer Media, Gabrielle Glore, founder of Glorified Productions, and Gilda Squire, founder of Squire Media and Management. Thank you all for being here today at SCAD Pass the Mic. Now, ladies, I just want to get my yes, we're here. Did everyone get talking about this? This is such an awesome opportunity. And a point of privilege, I'm just so glad to meet y'all and finding out oh, we're friends and we have mutual friends here. And did you know this? And I love it. This is why we're doing this. So thank you for being here today and for our students and everyone showing up. Now, we're going to kind of guide this conversation. We talked before and we had some themes that kind of popped up. So I want to make sure we address those, and I'll kind of pass it off to you specifically, and we'll just kind of let the conversation go. Sound good? Got thumbs up in our virtual stage. All right. All right. So the first topic I want to discuss is hope and direction. And I'm going to start with Gilda. Gilda, for the last year, many of us have grappled with the increased feelings of isolation. Loss of community is often difficult for creatives who thrive on collaboration. Can you speak to maintaining in-person connections even as we remain apart?
So thank you so much, Audra. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And I'm so honored to be amongst this group of extraordinary women, two of whom I know very well, Gabrielle and DeDe. And I'm just getting to know Shayla, who seems like an amazing woman. I'm so inspired by what you've done. It's been a really tough year, right? I mean, this pandemic has thrown our lives topsy-turvy. And I think more than anything, it's reminded us that, we've taken for granted that interpersonal connection that we have with people. We were so used to seeing one another and meeting with one another and hanging with one another that once that was taken away, it really threw things into this abyss of uncertainty. And so I've done quite a few things that I'm going to share, hopefully with the panel and with the audience, that has kind of helped keep me going. And one of them is doing virtual chats just like this. I'm busy, I'm an entrepreneur, and if you've ever ventured into that world, it's you. And so it doesn't give you a whole lot of extra time to do other things, but I really have made it a point to make doing these types of things a priority, because this is how I connect. I am reconnecting with two women who not only do I think they're extraordinary human beings in Gabrielle and DeDe, but I really do like them. They're really wonderful people. And every time I'm with them, I'm inspired by them. Right. So it's important to do these kinds of chats because we're hearing one another's voices, we're seeing one another's faces, and while it's not in person, it's keeping that connection going. The other thing that I've done, which I never thought I would do, is lots of virtual baby showers, bridal showers, weddings, baby announcements, game nights, watch parties. And, believe it or not, it's been very helpful because you get to see the people who mean something to you and you get to do something fun. And also, most importantly, it's that one-on-one time. I've had a lot of one-on-one time with people who've just said, hey, do you have a moment? Just like we would hop on the phone, we hop on a Zoom or we hop on FaceTime. And I always walk away from those interactions feeling this renewed sense of joy and hope, and just knowing that this is temporary. This is not going to last forever. And finally, especially for students, team meetings are so important. When you're in school, I remember being sort of in the silo studying on my own. Well, this is a time when you can come together, share ideas with one another. And I know Zooms can be overwhelming. They are for me because the work eventually has to get done. But purpose is a big part of alleviating that feeling of isolation. You feel like you're working towards something, and as a team, and you're seeing one another and talking to one another, you feel like you're motivating one another, you're building something, you're hoping for something, you're moving forward. And then finally, I think what I have found is making a commitment to commit. to connect. That's been super important to me. Just like we've made a commitment in the past, we're going to get together for lunch. Let's make a commitment to get together face-to-face time online. So those are some of the things that have helped me, and share visuals. When you get together, we don't have to just look at each other, share some visuals, what you've been doing, what you've been working on. So I'm not sharing anything with you that I haven't done over these past several months. And I must say, it's really helped me, and it could and should help you too.
That is so good. And DeDe, I see you shaking your head like, yes, I understand. Like, how are you finding connection and community and in this virtual world?
I've worked remotely for years now. I was self-employed, and I just started my position at Paramount actually a year ago this week, and was supposed to move to LA, but the world had different plans for me, and that's fine, because it really afforded me an opportunity to sit down a minute and take a breath, and to really double down on some things I had sort of let go. And that was like my morning routine. Now I'm getting up and meditating for 5 minutes. That's all my head will allow me to do is 5 minutes. I envy anybody who can do longer than that. It's also allowed me to, do some morning pages, if anyone's ever read The Artist's Way, and also do some prayer. And really set some intention. And I wasn't really doing that before, because I think, like everybody else, we're running here, there, everywhere. We're running around on fire. But to Gilda's point, I do miss seeing Gabrielle at, the Urban World Film Festival. I miss seeing Gilda at junkets. I miss seeing Shayla on red carpets. And I think it's exactly what Gilda said. It's these sorts of things that also give me something to look forward to, but also give me that connection that I've been missing. And I've reconnected with so many people this past year on Zoom, and it just made me remember, hey, I just want to see your face. I know we haven't talked in a few minutes, but we have so much to catch up on. And it's lit me up in so many ways I can't even tell you. And I would not have taken that time had we not been on lockdown. I would have still been running around like a crazy person,
See, that is like a hard reset, I think. A lot of people are like, it was doom and gloom forever, but like, if you can look back and maybe see the silver lining, like, oh, it forced me to say, hey, take care of yourself, like do that reset. Okay, cool. Anyone else have any things they're kind of like that got them more connection, or maybe they removed themselves from being too connected? Shayla, do you have any experiences where you shifted during this pandemic and, reconnected or made the commitment?
Pre-COVID, I was always on a plane, hustle and bustle, dinners, lunches. And when the pandemic hit, once I realized we were going to be in the house for a while, I took the time to just stop, breathe, and really lay out what I was going to do and how I was going to reset. So first, I worked on me, mind, body, and soul. And then I got to a place of understanding how this whole Zoom life worked, and I created boundaries. So after a certain time, I step away from the computer. And that's normally like around maybe 6 o'clock my time. And for lunch, I don't eat in front of my computer. I don't eat while I'm on a call. I'm literally focused on having my meal, because you have to disconnect throughout the day or you'll drive yourself crazy. And reconnecting with friends. I mean, Zoom birthday parties, like Gilda said, have been hysterical, game nights, and just girls' night. My 4 best friends, we normally travel and do 2 girls trips a year. We weren't able to do that. So once a month, we started getting together and we would paint via Zoom. We would try new face masks. We would do all kinds of things just to stay connected. And I think for a lot of people who are really busy, this reset was so necessary. And just my approach to everything else and how I move, I'm forever changed.
Wow, that's good. Setting boundaries. And these are important lessons, students. You're listening. These are industry professionals giving you the advice. Set boundaries, step away. You do need to take breaks. Practice these habits that you're going to need, right? When you're in the industry. I mean, these are big time women. So you're hearing it from the experts. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next question. And it's talking about actually kind of what you were saying, intentionality and purpose. Okay, Gabrielle, while we certainly encourage our students to set a goal and go for it, it's also important to stay in the moment and recognize the steps along the journey are very valuable and have purpose. Can you speak to how intentionality plays a role in finding professional reward and success?
Sure, Audra, thank you. As everyone has said, it's great to be here with all of these other panelists, with you leading the conversation. And, you know, for me, intention is definitely a big part of just kind of how I live my life and how I really encourage other people around me, whether they're mentees, whether they're peers, to really just be intentional about the choices that you're making. And to also be okay if you are headed in one direction and then all of a sudden it's evolved and you feel like you want to go in a different direction. It doesn't mean that your intention is in any way wavering. It just means that you're being intentional about the openness to new opportunity. And so we're not going to have everything figured out at the beginning, or we think we might, and we just need to be open to that change, but just, I think, be very intentional about setting goals and identifying what those steps are that are going to allow you to reach the goals and to achieve, you know, what it is, you know, you've kind of set out for yourself to do. So I think whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, all of the things that people have been talking about in terms of the last question and those responses, I think, you know, DeDe has to be intentional about getting up and meditating every day, you know, and that's part of her personal life. And Shayla's intentional about the fact that she's stepping away. And I certainly need to take a page from her book on that, because it has not happened nearly enough in my life during the pandemic. And I too, like DeDe, have worked from home for almost 20 years after leaving corporate America. So for me, it wasn't as much of a shift. And so I am trying to be more intentional about really just thinking about what the pandemic does to my planning and development for my career trajectory. So being a filmmaker, for example, you know, I'm not going to necessarily be in production. At least this was the thought back in March or April of last year. And, you know, so what does that mean for what I want to do? What's the intention I can set for myself around still being able to nurture myself as a content creator? And I just decided I'm going to do a deep dive into development so that when we do get past this pandemic, I'm ready. There are opportunities for me to begin, you know, really seeing the fruits of the labor of the last 12 months of, you know, here are a range of projects that I've been pushing along all at different stages that, you know, hopefully can begin to blossom once things begin to open up.
That's great to hear. So I love hearing about this pivot. Did anyone else pivot in terms of the shift in their mindset with work, in regards to work? Like, well, I'm always doing this, but now I'm going to try to add this for, you know, kind of planning purposes. DeDe, publicity.
I mean, talk about a pivot. I, again, thought I was going to start, again, I'm a year into a job and a year into a pandemic. And all of these ladies are in the industry, so they know what opening a film is like. They know press tours, they know junkets, they know the pre-planning that goes into that. And I was supposed to, I think, open 8 movies last year, and I opened 0. And I got close on a couple of them, and with even just releasing trailers. And the pivot just came in so many different ways. I work with a team of 5-6 people that I never met in person. I had to get to know and learn their strengths and how we could work together best, the best way to communicate virtually. A new boss, a whole new team of people I'd never, and also just the whole studio system that was all very new to me. And I got to learn a lot of these things with the grace of a bit of a slower pace, but also not having the, you know, connection to pull people to the side and maybe something I say or don't say is misconstrued. So all of those things required a pivot in, honestly, my mindset, how I was reaching out to, and not to mention the racial reckoning that happened. Mm-hmm. So that was a big pivot to me, because I began speaking more publicly about lots of things that I think for all of us are quite triggering. And I took more of a leadership role, you know, just personally and professionally, about all the things that happened last year, and now serving on a task force, which many folks I think would be serving on, many Black and brown folks are serving on, and having, you know, really raw and vulnerable and, again, triggering conversations. And that's not really something I had done in the past. So there was all of that personally and professionally, I had to pivot and show up vulnerably, authentically, humble. I mean, I'm humble to begin with, but I was really humbled last year, let me tell you. And also gratitude. I consider myself a very grateful person, but I sat in so much gratitude this year, just coming out of it healthy, family healthy, seeing these beautiful ladies, meeting you, everything, just my gratitude has been magnified in so many ways.
That's amazing. You know, you bring up what was going on last year, and I think a lot of us were probably looked to as, well, you help us solve this, you help us figure this. And it's like, well, first of all, we're dealing with it. Okay, that's one thing. You know, can I just process everything that's happening and not worry about educating you or telling you what you need to do, right? And so how did you all grapple with that? I'm just curious, you know, especially being in part of, you know, major industries or responding to people who may all of a sudden look to you and you're like, well, that's not my role, but now I think I need to help you. Or does anyone want to speak to that? How you had to lean into that in addition to doing your job, in addition to dealing with what you're seeing and hearing?
I mean, it was rough being able to, having to figure out how to process it while working, while staying positive, and you have a lot of your Caucasian colleagues and vendors and calling like, what can we do? What can we do? And it was a moment of like, okay, this is our moment where we can be incredibly honest. So to make you aware, and then how you want to help, here's a list of ways to help. And I think by doing that, it opened a dialogue and it opened a conversation. And listen, Hollywood is slowly changing. We're seeing the change happen. There's a lot of organizations that have started within Hollywood. In terms of us in production, it was tough because we had to pivot in our way of how we produced and shot projects. Thankfully, we came out of the pandemic and we shot 7 projects, but not only was it very expensive, but we also had to literally create a whole plan, and it worked. Thankfully, everyone came out COVID-free, but the reality is we're forever changed. And in terms of like the theatrical release, who knows what that looks like? So right now, people are now subjected to release on streaming and release on demand. But in theory, the box office is where our center is. So we have no idea what that world looks like. But for the most part, we're being patient as we can, but also maintaining the idea of if theatrical's never to be what it is, we're okay releasing on demand. We're okay pivoting. So it has been a whirlwind just from a production standpoint, from a racial standpoint, from a culture standpoint. And it was a lot to handle, especially in Hollywood, because you know how Hollywood is. And it was rough. I will say it was very, very rough.
Wow. Well, you know, I think coming into this, right? Again, I'm bringing it back to our students who some may be graduating this year and into the unknown and not knowing what, you know, is next. Are they going to be producing? Are they going to be part of something? And Gabrielle, I think you kind of spoke to this path, right? And I think we can all look at our past and say, well, when I was this age, I thought I'm going to do this, this, this. Here's my nice, neat line and how everything's going to go. Can anyone speak to, you know, having an idea? You know, we're talking about being intentional, but you had an idea, it didn't go that way. And thank God it didn't go that way, because you would have never insert here. Can anyone speak to that or think to that experience? You know, just maybe even go back to yourself being a college student and thinking, oh yes, the big wide world, I'm going to be doing all these things. Anyone want to speak to that and how it worked and maybe in your favor to not have that plan? Go.
I'll speak to it. You know, I knew that I wanted to focus on marketing. I knew that creativity and branding, that was something that was really important to me. And so I started off at HBO coming out of college, and then, you know, looked for different content opportunities. Never thought I would be a content creator myself. Always thought that I would be helping to market and promote content. And I think, you know, when I transitioned out of corporate America, one of the things that I started doing was executive producing the Urban World Film Festival. And I've been involved with that festival. It's my 17th year. So it's been a long journey, but I'd say maybe a third of the way in, I really started getting the bug for creating content. And I think it was really just that proximity to all of these content creators that we were, you know, developing and creating and presenting a platform to expose them and hopefully connect them with people in the industry. And so I slowly started kind of creeping into the storytelling space, the camera. And first it was as an executive producer and helping from a film financing standpoint, or helping with the marketing and, just kind of the distribution side of the business. And then I was like, I really want to produce, like I want to be involved in the casting and the script development. And so for me, it was gradual. And then it became very, again, going back to the intention of it all. It's like, okay, I want to do this. What are my steps? And so anything that I kind of took on in my marketing world or my event production world was in some form or fashion connected to wanting to be a filmmaker, and wanting to be in that space, wanting to be in the industry with that vantage point. And so whether it was a project that I took on in terms of the people that were surrounding that project that I knew could be helpful, I could learn something from, they could sponsor me in some form or fashion in the industry. So it came back to the intention of, I want to be a filmmaker. How do I get there? And I was thinking this morning that I've been a filmmaker for a long time, and I've been a filmmaker longer than I actually felt like articulating or felt comfortable articulating that I was a filmmaker. When I was an executive producer years ago, I was a filmmaker. I was contributing to that process. And I kind of thought to myself, you should have claimed that much earlier and in my career. And so I do think it's important to really kind of assess like what we're doing and to be comfortable and confident enough to say, yeah, I'm not an aspiring filmmaker anymore. I am a filmmaker, and just kind of letting that kind of lead where I go in terms of the things that I'm doing and just kind of how I'm presenting myself in the space.
That's good. And Gilda, I see you smiling over there. I feel like you have a story to tell in a similar vein.
I will try to tell it in a very condensed fashion, because what Gabrielle is saying is so true. It's very easy. Oh my God, I love your cat, DeDe.
Okay, who's in the picture of the cat photo?
The cat's like, I'm here too. I agree 100% with what Gabrielle is saying. It's so easy when you are very intentional in going down a certain path and that doesn't happen. And then you think, well, I failed. And that happened to me, where I thought I failed. When I graduated from George Mason University, go Patriots, and I moved to New York City, I came here to be an entertainment publicist, until I realized there wasn't a lot of money to be made. I had a very non-traditional background. I wasn't just a kid out of college. I'd had a work background. And so, but I needed to survive in New York City on my own. And so a headhunter said, hey, go to Wall Street. And I was like, Wall Street? I can barely balance my checkbook. Like, I don't have a thing for finance. And she said, no, I think you'd be great. And so she sent me to interview with Goldman Sachs. I didn't know the importance of Goldman Sachs, but I went and I got the job, and I cried for 3 months. I cried every day for 3 months because I felt like I failed. I'm like, I've gone through all of this to move to New York City, to be sitting here as an assistant in investment banking. And so I did that for 2 years, and about a year in, I realized, like, you know what, everybody kept saying, oh my God, you're at Goldman Sachs, you're so lucky. And then I started to kind of do the homework, like, okay, where am I? What is this? What does this mean? How can this help me? How can this push me forward? And so once I understood, like Gabrielle said, once you understand your value and where you are and what you have to contribute, own that. And I did. And I reached out to someone who I didn't know, this man named Peter Rose in the communications department. I introduced myself out of the blue, cold call, and he had a meeting with me, and I said, look, I'm giving myself, I've been here a year, I'm giving myself 1 more year. If I'm not in the communications department in some form at Goldman Sachs, I'm leaving, job or no job, I'm out. And he said, would you really do that? You'd leave Goldman, because people don't just leave Goldman. And I said, yeah, I would, because I've got to look out for my career. I have a purpose. Wow. And so long story short, I ended up in the communications department. And it was an amazing opportunity that I often say that experience built me into the professional I am today. It gave me the courage when I decided to go out on my own. It gave me the courage to say, I can do this.
That is, wow, Gilda. Okay, talk about the importance of checking in on yourself, owning your truth, knowing your value. This is so important. Oh, thank you for sharing that. See, and it's not always about what others think you should be doing. It's about what you know to be true for yourself and what you need to do to get up every day and not cry going to work, right? Oh, this is
people thought that I had lost my mind when I decided to leave and go into book publishing of all places. People thought, oh, you need a break. You need a little sabbatical. You need to go take a vacation. You've been working hard. And they didn't understand that, you know, I still never forgot why I moved to New York City. I never forgot.
So good, so important. Well, ladies, I could ask y'all questions all day, but I also want to introduce our students so that they have an opportunity to speak what they have to speak. So we're gonna bring them on camera, and our first student question is from Danielle. So Danielle, once you pop up, there you are. The floor is yours.
Hi, I am Danielle Earthley. I am a junior dramatic writing major and double minor in performing arts and music composition. And my question is for all of you. What do you wish to see more for women in the industry in the years to come, especially in the post-pandemic world with when we return? And like, what do you expect story-wise and leadership-wise?
I mean, I might let, I'll just say from a studio perspective, as being one of the only Black female executives at the studio that I'm at, and I know this to be probably true across other studios. I think Shayla and Gabrielle and Gilda will also co-sign on that. I want to see more of us at the executive level. And we're in there at the like assistant manager level, but getting us to those next points, which is why mentorship and doing things like this is so important to me, is seeing more of us in those executive leadership positions. And I'll just toss it to the other ladies to weigh in.
I would love to see more women, minorities in behind the scenes in terms of like production designers, DPs, script supervisors. It's, you know, it's great that you have minorities, but it's another thing when you can have a female running your camera department and a female DP. So I would like to see more females in the creative space behind the scenes as department heads, because you really only see them in wardrobe and hair and makeup. And I would like to see a gaffer, electric. I just like to see more of that.
Oh, well, Shayla, we'll send all our students your way, okay? All of our fine SCAD grads.
I would love it.
Funnel them through. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for your question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love what Shayla said. It was definitely along the lines of what I was thinking. She took it to the next level in terms of just the below the line crew and, you know, like array crew. I was originally just thinking like what Ava DuVernay has done with Queen Sugar and what she's done over the course of several seasons in terms of having it be all female directors. You know, that's really important, but equally important, as Shayla was saying, is just all of those department heads, all of those other below the line opportunities is just critical, I think. And then the other thing too is just at these companies like Paramount, like Viacom, CBS, and these larger companies, who's on the board? Where are the women of color who are on the boards of these companies that are helping to chart the defining business decisions of that company? I really do feel that like leadership is top down in terms of the ethos and the change that you're trying to see in an organization. So I think it's just really on all levels. It really makes, it's critical.
And if I can just jump in from my end, in addition to the PR, I do management, Danielle, as well, talent management. And one of the things that I'm super proud, I don't know if you know ballerina Misty Copeland, but I manage her. One of the things I'm super proud of is when we walk in a room, people are stunned, but then they're pleasantly surprised because we can do business too. You know, because they're not used to seeing someone who looks like me walk through the door with somebody who looks like her. And so one of the things that Misty and I and her producing partner, she has her now her production company as well, Life in Motion Productions. One of the things that's really important to us is putting people who look like us, particularly women, to work. So that's something we're working on. And Courtney B. Vance and Angela Bassett have their production company, Bassett Vance Productions, and there is a woman of color who is leading that development. So I want to see that continue, and those are the people that I like to work with.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle. Gilda, I didn't know that. Now my oldest daughter, Paloma, is going to die. She is a Misty Copeland. She's in ballet. Like, she's got a production of her own tomorrow. Oh, girl, we're going to talk. Sorry. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone. Again, it's not about me. It's about all of y'all. And our next student that is up is Claudia. Claudia, join us on the screen. I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask your question.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Purdy with a junior film and television major here at SCAD with a minor in dramatic writing. And first of all, I just want to say I'm loving this and I'm loving all of the energy. It's great to be here with all you accomplished women. So, which leads me to my question. As an aspiring female writer and director, I have so appreciated the boldness and the honesty of television showing women in their full sexual lives, sexual selves. TV shows such as Sex and the City, Girls, Fleabag, and Insecure are some of my favorites and just some of them that come to my mind. But when I stop to think about this kind of portrayal in film, American film at least, I can't really think of any. So my question to you all is, why do you think we're seeing this on the small screen as opposed to the big screen?
I think we did a great job with Girls Trip, showing 4 women behaving badly, which was a theatrical release. I think there's more coming, but ultimately there are things out there. I think TV just happens to be a bit easier. Girls Trip was not an easy movie to get greenlit. We really had to show up and show out, and we did. But that's a movie that represented 4 women behaving badly at Essence Fest, who all had amazing things going on, and it was one of the best rides ever. So if you get a chance, check it out.
I will, thank you.
And I'll just chime in with another film that's the complete opposite of Girls Trip, called Sylvie's Love. It's a period piece. It's a film that I worked on. And again, it's showing Tessa Thompson as a woman that is, we're seeing her full self. We're seeing, you know, a very multi-dimensional, layered character. She's an aspiring TV producer. It's a love story. So we're seeing, you know, that dynamic, but it's just through a very different lens. We often see a lot of the storytelling through this lens of adversity versus this lens of humanity. And just as you're talking about, you know, just the sensual self, the professional self, the self-care self, there's just so many aspects to who we are as women, and particularly as women of color. So I think it's hopefully with things like Girls Trip, Sylvie's Love, and others, that storytellers feel more comfortable, and not only the storytellers, but also the gatekeepers to getting those stories made are more comfortable really putting a broader spectrum that isn't just anchored in some of the tropes that we're used to seeing with a lot of content that's out there.
Yeah, Sylvie's Love was good for staying true to what you believe rather than what others believe for you or what's good for you. So that's another good film. And Girls Trip, listen, I don't know how many times I saw in the theater with my girls, with my mom. That was fun. Another great examples. Okay, well, thank you so much, Claudia. We appreciate your time. Okay, and the next one we have is my Miss Rachel. Rachel's gonna pop up the screen. Point of privilege, everyone in the audience. I met Rachel at Accepted Students Day celebration with her family. We had the best time. I'm gonna have to find that video of us like dancing and playing, whatever. But Rachel, you are up next for your question. If we can get you on the screen. And actually, while we're waiting for Rachel, any other must-watch films, ladies? You have some great ideas already. I'm like, now I need to go back and watch these. DeDe, what do you got?
I love, and it's a film close to my heart because it was one I almost released this year, but alas, it went to streaming. Please see United States versus Billie Holiday with Andra Day.
She just won the Golden Globe. Okay.
Just won the Golden Globe, and Lee Daniels poured his heart and soul into it, and just the whole story behind it. Read it. It's a little known information about Billie Holiday. The wardrobe's beautiful. Andra's spectacular. It's just it's really an informative film, and I think you will see a lot of the things that I think Claudia was asking for in this film. So please see that.
Absolutely.
So good. Gilda, do you have a film? Okay.
No, I already saw Sylvie's Love, obviously, and I just gushed to Gabrielle, and I loved Girls Trip, obviously, and the United States versus Billie Holiday was just life-altering. Her performance, Andra Day, I mean, just life-altering. So I would have chosen that one too.
All right. Oh, hello, Miss Rachel. How are you?
Hello,
How are
Dr.
you?
Pittman. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. So it's your turn. The floor is yours. Ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. So hi, my name is Rachel Taylor. I am a junior film and television major at SCAD Atlanta. Thank you for having me. Thank you all for being here. My question for you all is, beyond time, experience, and building relationships, do you have any specific suggestions regarding owning your space and having a quick professional rapport in an arena where there's not necessarily time to have to greet everyone with an elevator pitch telling them what qualifies you to be there?
Ooh. That's so nice.
So if I understand your question correctly, Rachel, it's
Yes, ma'am.
is it connecting with people like us over Zoom, and you want us to like just how you can sell yourself and connect a little more?
So in a space like this with Zoom,
Yeah.
or something that I was thinking about when I wrote out this question was, I've recently had an experience on a professional television set, which was like amazing. But I was a PA, and so I would get instructions from my supervisors, things like that, first, second AD, and they would tell me, okay, cool, go like lock up stuff, make sure that nobody's like moving, being quiet while we're shooting. And then people who had been on the set for longer than I had, with more experience than I had, they would look at me like a certain kind of way. I wasn't sure exactly like what that was about, whether it was because I was a novice on this set or because of other things that may be out of my control. But just things like that, so that people, like, they weren't necessarily like respecting my position, but I still, like, I was just doing my job, you know? So
Okay.
things like that.
So that was about them. That wasn't about you.
Okay.
That's not you can't change how people interact with you. What you can do is change how you move through the world, right? And so if somebody is treating you in a way that's not respectful, it is your option to not deal with that person. You just continue to do the work. That's what I say to everybody. Do the work. Do the work as best as you can. Promote that excellence that I know that you have within you. And the people who are there for you, who see you, who hear you, who are going to be invested in helping you, they will step up. That's
Yeah,
Awesome.
I agree. And I think it's important, just to kind of echo what Gilda's saying, is to, in those settings, find the people that you should be spending time with and that you should be interacting with, and that you should, in that space, in that time while you're on set, but also after set. It's really about nurturing and fostering those relationships once you leave a particular environment. But focus your energy, as Gilda was saying, on where you think the positivity is gonna reveal itself, and just where you're gonna get the most out of that situation.
Great. Thank you so much.
So good. So proud of her. Oh my God, I can't believe you're junior already. This pumpkin. Okay, sorry. Anyway. All right. And so I want to get back. I have a couple of questions. Oh, yeah, one more student. Okay. We actually have one more student, Olivia, who's going to pop up on the screen. But I still, like, you all have my mind like buzzing with other questions. So Olivia, the floor is yours.
Hi, Olivia.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. My name is Olivia Schneider, and I'm an upcoming senior film and television student, double minoring in producing and business management. So I wanted to actually ask all of you, as women who have worked extremely hard to be in the leadership positions that you are in today, what would be your top 3 personal or professional skills that I should try now to master at this stage in my career?
That's an excellent question. Organization, time management, and foster solid relationships.
I would add to Shayla's list excellent communication skills, written and speaking.
And I would add, I don't think Shayla said this, but interpersonal skills. Did you say that, Shayla?
No.
Relationships are really important. And I feel like, you know, you're walking through the world treating everyone with respect, and have fun is my other thing, is just really kind of look at what's in front of you. And as you make choices, you know, what is going to fulfill you? What are you going to have fun with? And the last thing I would say is just, you know, being calm in the chaos, you know, just, you know, that Zen, that's how you, that gives you the clarity so that you can problem solve, that you can navigate So those are just a few of the things I would add.
And I've seen Gabrielle in action, in craziness, and she is the Zen master. It's unbelievable. Oh my God. I will leave you with these two things. Be nimble. I think that you can see from all of our trajectories that we've had to be really nimble and connected the dots on things where you may not be able to see immediately, but being nimble and flexible in maybe what you thought you were going to do. There's certain opportunities that will present themselves to you, and you're like, no, that's not it because it's not in my plan. But if you can take a moment or some time to try to connect the dots on those, really figure out, why am I being presented this opportunity? What can I learn from it? What can I give to it? And what can I learn?
That's so great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia, for your question. Appreciate it. And actually, you all are giving great words of wisdom, advice about, relationship. Don't burn bridges, because like Shayla and I found out, we have mutual friends. So you don't want to make that one person angry. It's like, oh, I know that. Okay, I know her, but so now moving forward, because your classmates could be your future production partners, could be your future, you never know. So don't burn bridges. You're not better than anyone. You can always work together. So build that. Now, speaking of advice, I'm going to take a question from the audience from Vic L. Vic L says, Shayla and Gabrielle, what's the best advice you've been given about the entertainment industry and how to stay in the industry as a woman of color?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Shayla.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's kind of a long question. I think it's more or less staying in the entertainment industry as a female, more or less than a Black woman. I think the best advice that was given to me was stay the course. Keep your head down, do the work, and all the accolades and the success will come. And I'm a walking testimony of that. I started with Will as a PA on a movie called Stomp the Yard Homecoming. And weeks before we wrapped, he asked me to come on as his EA. And I was like, sure, under one condition. When you go make movies, I want to go with you. And my first theatrical film was Think Like a Man. So I've stayed the course. I've worked my way. And I never entertained the noise that was around me, because there was a lot of it. There was a lot of noise around me, but I had a plan, and my plan was to be successful. I didn't know how far I was going to go in the industry, but I just wanted to stay the course, and I've done that. And, with the accolades and the credits and the recognition, just stay focused.
I think that's great, Shayla. You've had a number of roles, so you know what to expect from everyone in that role. You can say, I can speak from experience. I can tell you what you need to be doing. So
yeah, and stay the course. Don't try to get ahead of it. You come into this industry, you're coming in at entry level. You have to crawl before you walk. That is so important. And a lot of folks don't understand that. And they hit roadblocks and they get frustrated. But you just got to stay the course, man. It's simple. It really is.
Good advice.
And I would just add, I completely agree with Shayla. I would just add that find people that are going to advocate for you when you're not in the room. And there's so many opportunities that we don't get because there wasn't someone advocating for us. There wasn't someone that was recommending us, and not just recommending us, but really advocating for us and why we're the right person for an opportunity. So I think just having allies and advocates that you're surrounding yourself, and it just kind of goes back to the intention, who are the people that I like and respect and that I want to collaborate with and that I feel I can learn from. And hopefully these people are also individuals that are going to advocate for me and the opportunities that I have in the business.
Yeah, so good. And I want to keep on this point, right? You advocates, building relationships, building a community. This can be a very competitive industry, right? This can be well, she said that, and I'm trying to do this, and they're trying to do that. How do you maintain that sense of community, of empowering one another, even though you may have competing interests or competing roles? Like, how do you all approach that and navigate that and still kind of move forward?
It's easy for me because I feel like there's so much opportunity out here, and I don't feel like it has to be parceled out to this side or this side. I think there's room for everybody. There's room at the table for everybody. I use DeDe as an example, and she's probably going to scream when I say this, but we go back years. I don't even want to say now how many years, now that I think about it. But, DeDe and I were both publicists in two different parts of a major corporation. And I didn't see her, and we just happened to be two of the few Black people in those positions, right? And we used to get together and do spin class together, remember? We would take spin class together, and even though after we both went our separate ways from this company, when I see DeDe, even if I haven't seen her in 2 years, when I see her, I know that she's my sister, and I know in between that time, if I need her or she needs me, and the same thing for Gabrielle, we're here for each other. Gabrielle has called me and said, I want to do, when you wanted to do Missy and A Ballerina's Tale for Urban World, Gabrielle called me and said, this is what we want to do. And that's how we make it happen. So I've always been of the impression that that's not even a question for me. That's how I've just guided my whole career. And I feel like that's what really benefited me in that approach. Not seeing it as a competition, really as a sisterhood.
So don't operate from scarcity, operate from abundance, and all the things will come. Okay.
Well, this is true. Just celebrating each other. I don't get to see these ladies very often, and I'm sort of slowly but surely getting to know Shayla a little bit better as our paths continue to cross. But when I see Shayla on social media, or there's an announcement of something wonderful that she's done, or the promotion that she got, I think a couple years ago, into the role that she has now, or Gabrielle with the release of Sylvie's Love, and Gilda with all the amazing things that she does with Misty and Courtney and the fabulous Miss Angela, I am grinning from ear to ear. I'm either going to send a text message or comment on a post. It's like, yes, girl, this is amazing. Congrats to you. And it fills me up with so much excitement, because seeing them shine also gives the rest of us the permission to shine and do the things that we do. And then how can I help? How can I spread the word about this? And I really want to be more, speaking to intent, Gabrielle, more intentional about those things, about goals and dreams and desires. How can we help? How can I help spread? Well, I spread the word about Sylvie's Love more than you possibly know as an unofficial publicist for it, because I loved it so much. But I let her know that, and I let everyone know that I love this movie and you have to watch it. So it's really that. It just brings me so much joy to see these ladies doing so well in all the things that they do.
Really quick, I think the biggest thing to remember is what's for you is for you. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to celebrate someone who might have had a moment or has something coming out, because you're on your own trail. You're on your own way of getting what you deserve when you're ready to receive it. So I think most people are so caught up with what everyone else has, and unfortunately social media is such a place for all of that. But what's for you is for you. So it's okay to celebrate your tribe and celebrate women that you may not even know that's just doing something amazing. That is okay. It's really, really okay.
And I want to just say that I think when you celebrate, you also have the opportunity to hopefully in the future collaborate. So rather than compete, collaborate. And that's, really the spirit with how I try to approach everything. It's so much more fulfilling that way. And there's so much opportunity, as Gilda said, out there for us to really, do things in our own lane, but let's figure out how we do things together.
Yeah. This is so good. Well, ladies, I have one final question, but it's going to kind of require a quick answer because we're rounding out our program. We need to stay connected, okay? Everyone's wondering, how do we stay connected? Are there any social platforms, online sites, podcasts, any recommendations for continuing this conversation, staying connected to voices of this industry? Anyone want to fire away?
I think Clubhouse is a great place to be right now for these conversations. In fact, I host a room about Black women in leadership once a week, and I haven't even gotten to these ladies yet and asking them to participate. It's only about 3-4 weeks old. It's getting in those rooms, having those conversations. I think, again, Clubhouse is a great place to do that. There's lots of different rooms and clubs that you can get in there and chat. And hopefully we'll be doing this in person again really, really soon, because there's nothing like, you know, in real life.
For sure. Any other recommendations? Any other final thoughts that y'all want to leave with?
DeDe nailed it, Clubhouse.
Clubhouse is it. Okay, we're going to have an after party, I think. We're going to have an after party at Clubhouse. Okay. Well, ladies, again, I feel like this conversation could continue through to happy hour. Maybe we can do a virtual happy hour in person soon, but it's time to wind down. Before we go, I'd like to say a very special thank you to DeDe Brown. Your help with this event has been incredibly valuable, and we are all so very grateful to you. To our panelists here and our guests from earlier sessions, thank you for giving so generously of your time and expertise today. And to our students and the audience, we thank you especially. These conversations don't happen without the support of the audiences who continue to show up, ask provocative questions, and help us spread the word that here at SCAD, we are passing the mic to amplify diverse and creative voices. Let's keep this conversation going. Follow at scad.edu and at SCADFILM on social media to learn all about the incredible virtual programming we have coming up. Thanks to everyone, and y'all have a great and safe weekend. Bye.
Keep shining.
Thanks, Audra.
Yay.